So I did an internet search for heartwarming stories of rescue, and I got a shock. Yesterday, I read a local news story about a football team that saved the life of a drowning man. And I wanted to find a few more examples of rescues for today's devotional. But what I found absolutely blew my mind. Well, before I get to that, I want to welcome you to Mornings with Bishop Robert. Thanks for joining me. My goal is to introduce people to the Jesus they never knew and help them get to know him and his word personally and better. So if our time together today touches your heart, I hope that you'll come back often. And please like, subscribe, and share this with a friend, would you? Well, I never would have guessed it, but my search for rescue stories delivered page after page of animal rescues, animal adoptions, and similar animal stories. It actually took a lot of scrolling before I got to an article related to people. Now, don't get me wrong. I love dogs. I can even tolerate the occasional cat. Some of them could even tolerate me. And surely rescuing them is laudable. But I just found it fascinating that there were so many stories of animal rescues presented and so few about people. Well, today's verse says, "Carry one another's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." The law of Christ. That's a term that can be summed up in one word: love. The only instruction that Jesus ever framed as a commandment was when he told us that we were to love one another as he loved us. WWJD, what would Jesus do? Used to be all the rage some time ago. T-shirts, bumper stickers, bracelets, and the like were everywhere. Well, the WWJD fad has passed, mostly, but not his commandment to love. And often, that love requires sacrifice. A few days ago, a couple of football teams playing a match at a local park had their game interrupted by a car driving into a nearby pond. Well, they sprung into action to save the driver's life before the car could sink. And as one of the rescuers, Justin Johnson, rushed toward the car with his teammates and opponents, trying to help, he recalled thinking, save him. Honestly, just save him. Well, here's the issue. The driver didn't want to be saved. He had wound up the windows, locked the doors before deliberately driving into the pond, intending to end his life. While unable to pry the windows or the doors open, someone somehow climbed through an opening in the trunk and then opened the driver's door so Johnson and others could pull the driver out. Johnson said, "He didn't want to come out. He had hold of the steering wheel. We were just sitting there fighting. He was telling us, 'Let him go, let him go.' But we just couldn't let that happen." They were finally able to pull the man from the car to safety and bring him to the shore, where they waited together until EMS arrived. Carry one another's burdens, and in this way you'll fulfill the law of Christ. Well, those men loved well. They stepped in and rescued someone in desperate need, someone whose problems went well beyond the sinking car in which he sat. He needed help he didn't want. But our heroes weren't deterred by his protests. You know, when you stop and think about it, there's an awful lot that the rescuers ignored. They ignored their game. 30 seconds before that car plunged into the water, I'm sure the score was a major consideration. But a life in the balance changed that. They ignored their clothes. The cost of their footwears and their uniforms wasn't even a consideration. A life in the balance changed that. They ignore the dangers of a sinking car and potential injury. And athletes typically have to be careful to avoid injuries. But a life in the balance overrode all those concerns. Even a life that didn't want to be saved. All lives matter. Even lives of drivers in sinking cars who don't think their life is worth saving. Perhaps especially those lives. Among the things these rescuers ignored was whether this man's skin color matched theirs, what his net worth was, where he called home, whether or not he was in this country legally, and any number of things that may have been considered important before the car hit the water. But a life in the balance changes everything. Yep, even a life that doesn't want to be saved. Carry one another's burdens. And in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. It's a great lesson for followers of Jesus too. Sometimes the people who most need to be saved grip the wheel, lock the doors, and insist we leave them alone as they drive into their lake. But we can't do that. Jesus would never stand there and watch the car sink. He'd be heading into the lake for the rescue. He'd probably be walking on the water. If we're followers of Jesus, we need to go where he's going. Because that's the kind of love Jesus gave. That's the kind of love he's calling us to. See, there are lives in the balance all around us. And we're the rescuers. Not everyone who needs to be rescued is sitting in a sinking car. Some of them are serving your coffee, checking out your groceries, living next door, or even sleeping on the sidewalk downtown. Not everyone who needs to be rescued wants to be rescued. And some don't even know they need to be rescued. But rescuing all of them is what we're called to do as followers of Jesus. Because a life in the balance changes everything. Hey, we're out of time today. Where does it go? But can I ask you to help me rescue people you know? Please like this video to help more people see it. And then follow or subscribe so you and I can get together every day. Would you share a rescue story or even a need in the comment section? And then, of course, would you share it with a friend? Because as you do, you're becoming part of the rescue squad, touching lives in the balance all over the world with the love of Jesus. Thanks for helping.